Central Illinois is the CI in CI Living. CI Health is brought to you by Aunt Martha's.
Well, you can see grain bins covering the central Illinois landscape all around, and farmers use those bins to store their crops until they're ready to sell. It's not uncommon to see farmers moving the grain to sell at market before spring planting. Transferring the grain isn't easy, and accidents can happen. Joining us over Zoom is Amy Rademacher, Rural Health and Farm Safety Program Coordinator for Carle's Community Health Initiative. She's here to share some grain bin safety here with us. We appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you.
Okay, so we all know what grain bins are for, but let's kind of go over how the grain is removed, and is that where the safety concerns come in?
Well, that's what we spent a lot of time focusing on, and we'll do the same here in this interview. However, we also have basic things right now. You know, things are slick. And as we move grain, the dust and the chaff stirs up and can make the rungs slippery. So falls are, you know, that's something we cannot ignore. But when we talk about Grain Safety Week, a lot of focus really is on grain bin entrapments and engulfments. And so that's where we spent a lot of time thinking about those.
Let's talk a little bit about some of those different scenarios regarding entrapment and engulfment.
Sure. So there's three common ways that would happen. The first that you see at the top is flowing grain. We never want to be in a grain bin when grain is being moved. So that's one way that people become entrapped in grain. The second one is a horizontal crust or a bridge, so to speak. And a farmer will get in there not realizing that that he's not walking on the top, that he's actually walking on a false bridge, and it will break, and then he can be pulled down into the grain. And then the final one is an avalanche. So farmer enters the grain bin, it's caked up along the wall because of moisture content, not flowing properly, and he starts to pick at it, and then it does a vertical avalanche.
All of those sound very frightening and very scary, I'm sure, for those farmers that are involved in those type of situations. Let's look at the data here and what we know about these types of incidents.
Yep, grain bin entrapments account for nearly half of our documented accidents. Illinois, unfortunately, seems to be in the lead when it comes to these types of incidents. Many are fatal, and so that's really important for people to understand, is that these extrications, recoveries, or rescues, they take hours. So it happens in seconds, but it can take hours to get somebody out. People die basically of asphyxiation in these incidents.
Yeah, okay, like you mentioned, they happen very fast. Let's talk a little bit about the force that's coming down on that farmer from the grain.
Sure, so we use a 165-pound person. If you think about that, by the time it's at their mid-calves, it would take 170 pounds to pull them out. So you got 5 extra pounds of pull. By the time it's to their waist, it's 300 additional pounds it's 300 pounds to pull a person out. By the time it's to their shoulders, 625 pounds. And by the time it's over their head, 900 pounds. So we can't just go in there and tie a rope around the person and pull them out. It's just not physically possible to do that without severely injuring the person. So we can't pull them out. We have to go in, trained professionals go in and put up grain bin rescue tubes or plywood and different types of material to create kind of a dam around the person, stabilize that scene, and then they have to remove the grain around the person rather than the person from the grain.
Wow, I think time would have to be of the essence in those situations, and it seems like that might take a while to do. So it's important to know the safety tips ahead of time to avoid these type of situations. I know we're out of time. You mentioned Illinois has seen a few too many cases. Have there been any recently?
We actually had one just last week or this past weekend in Mount Vernon. And then back in 2018, we had one here in Idale. Both, thankfully, were rescues where we got the person out. So that's good news.
That is great news. All right, we are unfortunately out of time, but on CILiving.tv, we will share some of your other tips regarding how farmers can prevent accidents. This is all coming at a great time as it's National FFA Week, where we're celebrating our high school students participating in the Future Farmers of America. And we so appreciate you being with us this afternoon, Amy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There's a look at the Carle website. We'll have all of that information at CILiving.tv. And we thank Aunt Martha's for sponsoring today's CI Health segment.